All right, it's a Thursday episode of Red Sox Now. We're close to 230 episodes of this podcast, and thank you for all of you that have joined me. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We're over 3,000. It'd be really cool if we could get to 4,000 subscribers on opening day, because I did as I look now, about 2 months away. Woo Sox, who I work for, Red Sox, start around the same time. AAA starts with the big leagues. They want AAA to be aligned with the big leagues, then AA and the A ball teams follow. But less than a month, pitchers and catchers report. Make sure to follow me on my social channels at the Radio Mike on X and on TikTok as well. I have people we're connecting on Instagram, but the big thing that we have added not too long ago was the Discord. So that conversation goes all night. The guys in the Discord are up much later than me, and they were good steady diet of the Freddie Peralta trade, which happened with the Mets last night. Saw both of those guys the Mets traded, by the way, Sprout and Jet Williams. Sprout, excuse me. Sprout pitched against the Woo Sox. We saw Jet Williams as well. Um, Quickly before we get to the Red Sox stuff, I always feel like when Milwaukee makes a deal, they've made some really good ones. I mean, the Quinn Priester deal when they traded Devin Williams, and now they trade Peralta. That's a guy that only has 1 year left. So, team coming off a lot of wins their division. This is how teams, you know, this is how markets do it. I know that the Red Sox get criticized, which is fine, but you're coming off a division win and they just don't pay players and they trade their best starter. So that's just how they do things. It's worked for them, but we'll see like how many times can you keep doing that? I'd be disappointed if I was a Brewers fan. Sproat's okay. I don't think he's. I think Jonah Tong would have been the better guy to get, but we'll see how that plays out. The Red Sox adding to their staff officially. Um, Ron Herr, I believe that's what he said at his press conference. The Spanish way to say Ranger. And I've talked to Latin players over the years. They are really loosey goosey with pronunciation. They don't care if you say the American version and here. So Ranger, he's fine with RAHN, Ron Herr Suarez, the Spanish way, but introduced, great personality. I'm not going to break down the whole introductory press conference. You can watch it. The Red Sox YouTube is there. Scott Boras was there. They were at the Celtics game last night, which was great. Um, I do like how Breslow talked about this is someone they can feel that can get better with their pitching infrastructure. I like the confidence. Hey, we feel the way we do things is correct and can help get better. I like that. I want that. I don't have, I want my executives and coaches saying, yes, the way we do things is better. I don't think they were saying it's better than anyone else, but we were confident in it. And that was something that they talked about. And great stuff. Him talking about, growing up watching Red Sox, Yankees. I was sharing this with some people in the Discord about the Latin player, where I think they're built a little bit different about pitching in big markets. And I've talked to them about this. This is, I've always tried to learn as a broadcaster. I talk to players and coaches a lot. And a lot of the thing that the difference is, and a lot of coaches told me this, the amount of pressure it is to play winter ball in the Dominican and in Venezuela, all those winter leagues are like Red Sox Yankee games every night. I've talked to American players that have played winter ball, and it is big time serious. Managers get fired, fans run on the field. I've heard some stories that are fans waiting outside the stadiums. It's crazy. And a lot of these guys, they're doing this at a very young age, playing for their country. I remember Jose Iglesias telling me about that, playing for Team Cuba at a very young age against older players. So they grow up in I think a different type of setting, atmosphere wise, than some American players, right? Because American players, if they're playing in big area code games in the States, it's not the same magnitude. these guys are playing in games that feel like Red Sox Yankees as a teenager. And I've had a lot of them say they don't feel big markets the way we do. And that's been a big thing. Oh, Suarez has pitched in Philly, and I've talked about it even as well. But they don't see it like that because they're kind of used to that. But I do like it. I do like that he's pitched in big time games. But a lot of those international guys, they have played for their country games at a level that to them are bigger and badder than a World Series. And you see that from the reaction of the WBC. Look at the environment from those countries when they're playing. It's completely different. And I think it's very fascinating. And this will be a good move for having a guy that's a little bit older that comes in here and the stuff about him off the field, clubhouse is off the charts, which is great. So that's official. They trade for Nate Baez. This happens a lot now with the invention of social media. And Nate Baez might not be a guy that ever gets to Boston. They needed a 40-man spot. They traded Tristan Gray, who's had a little bit of big league time. But not every single player you get back in a deal like that to clear a 40-man is someone that you think could be a big league target this year or next year. You do have to fill rosters. I know people don't like hearing that. I've had someone say, well, you can't go out and get players that you don't ever think are going to be big leaguers. Yes, you do. I mean, it's just you can't run an organization like that. And guys surprise you, but you do employ certain guys at AAA and even at AA that are probably going to just be there or maybe get a cup of coffee at the next level. Trace Thompson was one of those guys last year. You need clubhouse guys. Nathan Hickey's kind of developing into that. And I don't know where Baez will be. He could even start in AA. But one thing the Red Sox have done a great job at is pursuing catchers. It doesn't matter if they're going to be in the big leagues, but you need guys to play at the other levels. I remember player development people telling me, hey, we need to fill out rosters everywhere. So we can't, there'll be some guys that will play somewhere that they could just have a job to back up a young catcher. You bring in kind of an older guy. They do that a lot. They'll do that at AA as well. They might have, if Garcia, the Password's brother, is catching there, he's young, you might want an older guy with him. So that was how they cleared the 40-man spot. And of course, if the Red Sox make any moves, and their 40-man's pretty filled. So it would be, you're thinking like a Zach Kelly or David Hamilton would be possibly those guys. Jen McCaffrey talking about the Sox prefer Marcelo Meyer at third base. This is something that I had discussed on a show last week about being able to play the game the right way and how valuable that is for a player. Marcelo Meyer made the transition to third pretty remarkable. Iggy Suarez, and I've known Iggy for 20 years. When I was in Portland, Iggy played there. He was an excellent defensive player. Iggy had a ceiling. The Red Sox, though, loved him. This is a good lesson in life, too. Iggy was a minor league player who worked his tail off, who was a leader, maxed out at AAA. As soon as he left the game as a player, the Red Sox called, I think, a year later. He became a manager. They instantly wanted him. He's become, and I know this of Iggy, he's a defensive guru. He gave Meyer a crash course at third. He is working with these infielders. He is doing a lot of great things. And when I talked to Iggy about Meyer playing third, he's like, it's no big deal. He is so humble about it. He's like, it's the same side of the diamond, which it is, and that's why they want to keep him there, because they forecast him being a shortstop after Story, or who knows, right? I mean, I don't even want to forecast that. It's 2026. I get Arias is coming and all that, and that could cause something, but I get it. You keep him at the same side because he's used to that. But still, the fact that Meyer was able to play third base at a level like he did in the big leagues. Gold glove is what our manager said. He played gold glove third base in the big leagues. That is not something we're worried about. And that would be something that you should worry about if he was okay there. And all the worries about Meyer's health. I love Meyer. I think he's a great player. I have concerns about his health. We all do. We know that. But as the player, if he's healthy, he can be unbelievable. I didn't want this instead of Bregman, but now that Bregman is no longer in the picture, it does not bother me if that's the way they go because of the defense. I know people get sick of hearing it, and Breslow talked about this, but I'm telling you from being around pitchers, and you've got pitchers at a high level, they are not going to put up with it. You owe them. You can't bring in even a Crochet and ground ball pitchers, but you have guys that have big league experience, and not that you should do it for anybody, but it really cancels out good pitching. And I don't care about somebody hitting, this power stuff. I don't know why people are on this power thing. I really don't understand it. You're making this power thing from how the team looked at the end of the year, and they lost Roman Anthony. Nobody was talking about this until Roman Anthony got hurt. Abreu also was hurt. You cannot put up with defense like Eugenio Suarez. I don't care how many home runs he hits. He could hit 2 home runs in a game and make one error to lead to 6 runs. You will lose more games that way. And I don't know why you just don't look at what other teams are doing. And I will repeat this over and over. Toronto had one player with 30 home runs. So I guess they don't know what they're doing. And they ditched that to go to playing the game the right way. They have openly talked about we want better defense. They moved on from Bichette, one of their better hitters who can't play defense anymore. Why you would think that would be a better idea? No. I get it's the home runs, the back, it's sexier to talk about. And there's no guarantee that Suarez would hit that many home runs here. Maybe he hits 25. We don't know that. Get pitched differently at Fenway. You can't just assume that, balls he hit in Seattle would be home. He's not going to pitch you the same way. That's another thing people don't understand, too. You pitchers pitch to the park. Adrian Gonzalez talked about this. He got pitched away in previous parks at Petco because it was deeper to lefts. And at Fenway, he got pitched in more. And he struggled to hit the ball out to left. I have no issues going the defensive route. So and McCaffrey, Jen has said this. I also think that there's a component to there could be trying to get that position is way ridiculous in the return, which we've discussed this. If you are in a spot with no leverage, which they don't have a ton, yes, you can say Meyer, but ultimately the Red Sox are, if they're talking to teams about a third baseman, they know they want them. The cost is, and that's that position. And I still, people brought up some good points about Nico Horner. Does that make sense for the Cubs to do that? Yeah, that's a very good point. I don't know if it does, but they do have an issue between Horner and Shaw because Shaw's young. Horner has 1 year left. And they've talked about maybe moving Shaw to second base. The Cubs could get more than they could ever get for Horner right now, but that could complicate you as a big league team and make you not as good because that's an elite defender. So I do see a side where that could not happen. And again, I feel the same way for the Astros. I get they have a crowded infield, but they don't want Christian Walker on that team from the reports I've seen, and I mentioned this the last 2 days. They really want Paredes to be a utility guy. So, all of that it can be the negotiations, right? All of that, right? I do believe that's part of it. And there could be, I still think that we could see something happening that is out of the blue. Chris Cotillo, this is no surprise or no, let's get this. This isn't a. I think a massive trade is about to go down in the next 24 hours. More of they have a lot of irons on the fire. Truthfully, it's a worthless tweet. Spots remain. So he originally tweeted that the Red Sox were involved in serious trade talks all over the place when it comes to adding to the positional group. Um, and he clarified not going down in the next 24 hours. But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of teams are doing that. So I'm not surprised, and I think that we should expect that. It shouldn't be breaking news, right? I mean, they lost Bregman, and that would make a ton of sense. Wednesday's comments, where are they? I have them. I have them. Lefty0741. I still think Romero by July will be on the Sox as their third baseman. I mentioned this right here about 2 weeks ago. Possibly. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, that will be because of injuries. Let's see how he, the development of him. He was still one of the youngest players. He was the youngest player in AAA last year, but they still want a lot more from him. If that happens, it will be because of injuries. Robert Lowell dash G9U. Seems to me that the bulk reliever for Boston should be Cutter Crawford. I don't see how he's in the starting rotation at the beginning of the season. The Sox will have a rotation of Crochet, Suarez, Gray, Bayo, and Oviedo. If Bayo should be traded, then Connolly early moves in the rotation. The only way Crawford is in the rotation if two starters are on the, we can't say it anymore, disabled. It's the injured list. Remember, they changed that at the same time. Just messing with you, Robert. Yeah, I personally, I'll support Oviedo. I'd rather it be early, but that's, I don't have any, yeah, who cares what I think, but I want early in the rotation. Um, and you're right. If Bayo were to get traded, that would be the move. I responded to Robert. It isn't sure yet that Cutter Crawford would be healthy for the start. He might need a little more time. So if he's on the injured list, you could be right. I know that he's not a fan of being a reliever, but listen, if you want to be in the big leagues, those are the things you have to do. But yeah, Cutter Crawford's a very interesting name because even if they talked about moving him, like he's a guy that had a pretty good year a few years ago as getting back into starting, like for a fifth starter. He did give up a lot of home runs, but he did a lot of things I liked. Remember, he pitched in some big games. Ellen Morehouse, 423, Hall of Fame's a joke. So steroid Beltran and PED Jones got in, but not Manny, Bonds, Rose, or Clemens. Hall of second best. They disgrace Williams Ruths of the world by pretending these players aren't among the best of all time. Clown show. Yeah, I actually have no mental capacity to even talk about the Hall of Fame. It's very, yeah, I agree. It's disappointing. I just think it's very awkward and weird because I know deep in their hearts, the voters are voting for players. They're eliminating players that they know are Hall of Famers. So it's weird to me. I just think maybe we've got to come up with a system with stuff. Major League Baseball needs to align themselves with the Hall of Fame or have their own. They're a separate entity. Um, I don't. I think Andrew Jones. Again, we're talking about the cream of the crop, elite players in the game. I don't think that those two are. I can make a. I guess you can make a case for them. I wouldn't put them over, Manny and Arod. Um, and I don't know. Would they have, if they were on the ballot? You just ask yourself this. If the other guys were allowed to be voted for, they would have gotten voted in. So I don't know what to do. I think going forward, though, you have to put in parameters. Maybe let those guys get votes and suspend the years where they got pinched. And then just say that you have to vote on Bonds between these years and you have to eliminate the other years. I don't know. But I think going forward, you have to have a policy in place. And, because there's a lot of guys that are in the Hall of Fame that did steroids. Tons. It's just we think it's a popularity contest as well. Um, I have no doubts that Jeff Kemp had probably did juice at one point. His offense went up, hit 37 home runs, I think, when he was 34, 35. But who knows? It is what it is. It's not changing. So we'll see what happens next year. All right, that will do it for Thursday. Red Sox Now is presented by FanArch. Hit me up on socials at the Radio Mike on X. And if you want the Discord link, it's antonellis.michael@gmail.com. We got snow here again in Central Mass. We're getting a lot this weekend, so stay safe wherever you are. And as always, go Sox.